Bishop Davidson, B-I-S-H-O-P, D-A-V-I-D-S-O-N, Republican Party, 130th District.
Okay. What issue is most important to you as we head into November?
As we head into November, that's such a complicated question because as I started, I had issues that I'd put forth. Education policy is something I'm particularly passionate about, and I think it's relevant for COVID today. Of course, I think there are other pressing issues that COVID has brought about. And then what has always remained a stalwart issue, not only for me, but also the constituents of Western Greene County, is our Second Amendment. And so one of the particular policy issues may be the Second Amendment Preservation Act. If that comes about again, we'll definitely make that a priority.
Okay. What are we doing wrong right now, if anything, and what will you do differently if you win?
Just generally, what are we doing?
However you take that question.
Just by and large. I hate to say that there's a lot that's being done wrong, but by and large, as a conservative, I really do believe in limited government. And not just as a way of having a more efficient or effective form of government, but also as a way of having a more meaningful form of government for the people, for the constituents. And so for me, it's giving responsibilities back to local jurisdictions. I mentioned education policy before. I would like to see more educational decisions made in school boards and local communities as opposed to being made from the state or federal level. So,
what do you believe is most important to the district?
I guess I also sort of touched on this a little. When you're out door knocking, you get a chance to meet a lot of people and you hear a lot of different issues. And there's issues that I never would have thought to put on my platform at the beginning of this process, like grandparents taking care of grandchildren. But still, by and large, the issue that I've heard most about has been regarding our Second Amendment. It's been regarding red flag laws. And I think anytime you have a presidential election, that conversation becomes more prevalent, especially in a more rural district like we live in. So I would say that is probably a pretty big issue, as well as generally the economy, especially after last spring with stay-at-home orders and the various uncertainties of COVID-19.
Okay. What do you believe is top of mind for voters right now? Economy, race, or COVID-19? Which is the biggest concern, and how would you address it?
And of whom? I'm sorry, did you say Missourians or folks in Western Greene County or Americans?
Let's say the district.
The district, okay. I think COVID-19 and the economy are so intertwined, it's hard to separate those issues. We have conversations about race, but I don't think it's at the same level that we see at a national space or a national level. I think out in Western Greene County, still the prevailing issues are going to be jobs and family supporting jobs, and it's going to be how those jobs and how the economy interacts with our response or reaction to COVID-19. So I think those are probably hand in hand. I hope that's not too much of a political answer. I'm not trying for that.
How would you address it?
I think I am adamantly against any sort of future stay-at-home orders. I can't predict the future. I can't speak much to COVID-19 itself, given that I'm not at all a healthcare professional. But I think whatever comes our way, we need to address those concerns and address those challenges head on. And so if it's more nurses we need, then let's explore emergency certification programs where we can crank out nurses, and these wouldn't be full qualified nurses, but qualified enough to take off some of the load of our regular nursing staff. If we need more hospital beds, well, let's start looking at privatizing and contracting and deregulating that process. Whatever we need, I guess, I would say in response to COVID-19, let's really try and be forward thinking about addressing and meeting those needs, as opposed to staying at home, potentially compromising our constitutional values. And then at the end of the day, I think addressing an issue ineffectively and prolonging a problem.
How would you reassure voters you'll fight for what they want?
Well, I think systems of accountability are important. In 1790, at the earliest onset of our nation, a U.S. congressman was representing 38,000 people. I now get the privilege of representing 38,000 people in western Greene County. And a part of the joy of that is I really get a sense of what the district needs, what the district wants, and those in the district are able to reach out to me. And so the systems of accountability that we've put in place are my weekly fireside chats, which is a Facebook Live video that I do, and I'm going to continue doing that through session. And so if anyone ever wants to hear about what's going on, what's happening, or interact with me directly, they can do so there. They can email me at bishop@bishopformo.com. They can call me or text me at 417-647-1383. So as far as being a good voice of the people, of course without compromising my own convictions, I think we've got some good systems in place to have me constantly interacting with the people in the district. And I guess I should mention I pretty consistently attend all the city council meetings throughout the district as well. I think it's important that people have, once or twice a month, have their elected officials in one room.
Why run for office?
Well, it's a good question, I get it all the time. I had hair down to here and a big beard a year ago last July. Was not thinking about running. But I believe in a holistic conservative philosophy that I think is missing from our political dialogue altogether. It's not just about limited government, what I've already mentioned before. It's understanding that limited government isn't an end in and of itself. It's a means to a greater end, and that greater end is maintaining our communities and the institutions that give us a sense of purpose and meaning. So we've got folks in my generation, I think it's increasingly common, maybe even more so now in the wake of COVID, that are dealing with depression and anxiety and suicidal thoughts or suicide at worst. And I think a lot of this comes down to the erosion of our communities, and I think a lot of that comes down to the way that government interplays with our lives. And so I jumped into this race because I think the conservative philosophy, the conservative worldview, is well equipped to maybe not solve these problems, but to create the space for these solutions to arise.